This is just a quick demo to show how I take off concrete, foundations, footing, piers, slab and beams, etc., and all related components. When I do the paving, I'll set the depth, set a volume, and then I'll set a grid length. The grid length is usually the control joints. If there's a precedence for 15 on center or 20 on center, something to that effect, you can set a grid line in so you're getting all three components off of just one takeoff. I'm getting all the grid length, even though it's not completely accurate. It's still on center, so it will be very close. It'll give me the volume, obviously, with no waste, and the square footage. So when I do the takeoff, I'll show that grid in advanced. I'll make sure I show the grid and how the grid is separated. This one here is 12 foot on center. Now when I do a pier, I'll actually call out the pier that's on the plans, so there's always a reference to where that goes if somebody else needs to look at it. If I get hit by a truck tomorrow, somebody else needs to come look at this project, they're going to be able to tell exactly which ones I was taking off. I'll give it the width, then I'll give it the height of whatever it is. We'll say 15 foot. And then the same thing. I can do the count, I can do the volume, and then I can also add anything else I want to. I can add the surface area of the sides in case I need anything else based on another quantity. For the footings, I do the same exact thing. I reference each detail. I color them different. Even if they're the same, it just takes a moment. Like I'll start with S21. I'll give it the height that it shows and the thickness. Now you can do the length. I can do the volume, cubic yards, and I can also give the surface area of both sides in case I want to figure the forming material at the same time. I'll do the same thing for the light pole bases. I'll set up all the volume, cubic yards. I can do the same thing for any of the quantities because I like to have a complete cubic yard for everything, but I can also break it down into different areas or zones and separate all those quantities. I'll also do anything that's pertinent to the concrete subcontractor, such as the bollards, if they're going to do those, or whatever the case may be. And then you can see here where the red indicates the expansion joints. Those I have to do manually, but I can actually set those to a depth, so even if I have to figure the exact quantity of sealant that I'm going to need, if that's what is required on this, I can actually set a depth on that, say 1 inch, and then I can actually do a volume if I want to on that, cubic feet, whatever the case may be. And a lot of this is once you do the first one, say you do concrete paving at 5 inch, you can just duplicate this, open up the duplicate condition, change it to a different depth, and now you'll get the same thing. Now if there was an addendum that came out, I could actually take this whole paving detail, click on the new condition, and reassign the objects. So now this is set to 6 inch and not 5 inch, and it just takes a matter of minutes. For example, here's my bollard count, here's all my foundations, and you can see here where I do the piers, I do all the foundations, and they're all respective to whatever the detail calls out. I just find it much easier to do it that way, even if the foundations are the same size. Now with the reinforcement, say on this here where it says 8 inch thick concrete slab reinforcement with number 4 is at 12 inches on center, I can actually change this to reflect my rebar and give it the grid length visible, and it's going to give me that. So now if I go to building slab on the takeoff tab, it's going to give me the lineal footage of everything that I need. And then you can add your appropriate waste and other calculations that you might need. The way the program's set up, you can add just about anything depending on how you want to do it. I try to make one condition do as much work as possible. And if you use QuickBid, you can even take those further. If I do building slab 8, which I'm pulling the area, the volume, and the rebar, I can actually take that further in QuickBid and base it on those quantities. And that's about it.